What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode of Crush This, a Monster Truck Podcast Live. My name is Bradshaw, also known as the Monster Truck Canucker. Tonight is an awesome one. We have Dan Cheech's boss, Tim Hall of Hall Brothers Racing, the legendary Hall Brothers Racing, on the show tonight. It is going to be an awesome show. We had Tim on previously for a USA Motorsports Roundtable about a year, 2 years ago, but we finally have him on one-on-one. It's going to be an awesome episode. Before we get into anything, we'd like to thank people that support us, that help us out with giveaways and more. Let's start off with Joey Sylvester and High Octane Coffee. We had him on last week. It was awesome to have Joey on. He was our first guest. And if you guys are looking for some badass coffee with no BS, go check out some High Octane Coffee. We also have J Concepts. If you're looking for stuff for your RC stuff, if you're doing RC monster truck racing, anything with scale stuff, go check out J Concepts. They're also a huge part of restoring the legend that is Bigfoot 4. JB Scale Graphics, always awesome quality stuff with wraps, flags, whatever you name it, licensed stuff with Bigfoot. So many other teams that he works for. They just got a large format printer, so they'll be able to do a little bit more stuff in-house and some better stuff here for you guys. Also like to thank 6B Apparel. Chris Bozeman, 6B Apparel. We have our crew shirts. I'm not wearing mine today, but we have our crew shirts. We have the Retro Wave design, which is our current design. We also have the OG splatter design in hoodies and the crew shirts. The crew shirts are $100 a pop. You have to either message me or Cheech for those. Excuse me. And so thank you to Chris with 6B. Back Channel Productions, Nick Davis. Thank you, Nick, for all that you've helped us out with. Nick has been awesome. I got to meet him at the Renegade Monster Truck Tour show in Pennsylvania that I went to. Awesome stuff. He's been putting out some mud racing stuff. I know he was filming the Hagerstown event for Vaughters Motorsports and also the show for Versus Monster Trucks at West Leb. Hall Brothers were being represented at that show in Hagerstown, Maryland. Justin Story with his book, Making Tracks. $10 on Amazon. Go check that out. Awesome stuff. Very awesome book. I'd like to thank Hall Brothers Racing. Hall Brothers Racing has helped us with sponsoring our decals that Cheech has, or decals if you're in part of the United States. Just a huge thank you to Hall Brothers Racing for what they've helped us out with our podcast and everything they continue to do, even for the sport of monster trucks. It is awesome to have them on board with us. Also, MTRC Scale Racing, Colby Marshall, one of the masterminds behind the Monster blog and all they're doing with TMB. If you want to check out some awesome footage for some cool RC events, I know Dan has been a part of that. Our good friend Josh Rhodes over at the Retro Monster Truck Review has been a part of that. So go check that out. And last but not least, me, Bradley Shaw with Bradley Shaw Designs. If you guys are looking for some awesome high quality designs, please hit me up. I just got a new computer, so I'm able to do a little bit more things now. I'm not really limited by what I'm dealing with my computer issues. If any of you guys are in the Edmonton, Alberta area, I will be there this weekend for the Monster Truck Throwdown event. I will be there all weekend. I'm excited. I get to drive Don Frankish's ride truck for a little bit just to see that I've driven a monster truck, and it's going to be an awesome event. Also, about 2 hours out of Calgary, out of Edmonton to Calgary, is the Monster Jam event at the Stampede grounds there. One of the first times I ever met Cheech in person was at that show when he was back working with Monster Jam. It'll be a great event. And so guys, we're going to play some videos here for the intro and the ad for Back Channel Productions, and we'll get into our conversation with Mr. Tim Hall. Stay tuned, everybody.
This isn't your typical motorsports podcast. You're listening to Crush This, a monster truck podcast presented by High Octane Coffee and J Concepts. A show where we take you inside the minds of your favorite drivers, past and present, of the monster truck industry. And now, your hosts, Brad Shaw and Dan Cheech. Buckle in. The show starts now.
And welcome to the show, everybody. You can see my awesome co-host over there, Dan. Dan, how's it going, man? You told me you had a little bit of vehicular trouble there in Montana. How's everything going with that?
Well, everything's going pretty good now. We're getting ready to get everything going in for tomorrow, and we'll hopefully get to set sail and do an awesome display and car crush at the Lithia dealership over there in Helena, Montana. So we're doing pretty well right now.
Well, as you can see, we have your boss joining us, Mr. Tim Hall. Tim, thank you for coming on. How's it going tonight, sir?
Doing good. I'm glad those guys didn't have any more trouble than they did. You know, you hear stories of race transporters burning up, and it happens. Unfortunately, you know, those things they're close to the ground, they're closed in, they don't get a lot of air into there, and then something happens. And in this case, we traced it to a bearing that failed, not didn't run out of lube or anything like that. It just failed, and fortunately, the guys caught it before it got to be a problem, and Curtis got the fire out, and Dan assisted him getting the wheels off of it and tied up good enough to get it off the road and get it into a place where they could get them fixed. And those guys were racers at the shop, and they had a soft spot for racers, so they got us right in and getting them fixed up so they can continue on to finish off their trifecta in Montana.
Yeah, it's been a good time. Montana is a very favorable state and a lot of natural history and stuff like that. And we have raced there plenty of times. And one cool thing for this weekend there, Tim, you guys are going to be at Muncie, Pennsylvania, too, close to the home of the Little League World Series, and one of I think one or the longest running car crushes that I think our team has been a part of, correct?
Yeah, it is one of the longest running ones, and I just heard that Steve and Tim Kaiser bought the dealership back from Fairfield, so they own it again. So that's pretty cool, because when we were first there, it was Kaiser Brothers, and that was, in fact, I think we were there, with an executioner truck or something years ago in support of the race in Bloomsburg, and but yeah, those guys are always a lot of fun there, and so. If you're in that area of the country, if you're out there in the Bloomsburg area there in Muncie and Williamsport, and you got to come see us. It's our only chance out there this year, since we didn't go back to Bloomsburg, and you got a lot of fans out there, and it's fun to see everybody again when we come out that way. And of course, Chris Marifka, that's one of our crew guys. He's pretty important to those dealerships there, and that's where we met him, and he comes to the races now with us and stuff, so it'll be good to see him. He's been going through some hard times there at home there, so it'll be good for us to get back and see him too. So looking forward to it. Really good. Going to be a good time out there, and I know you guys do well up there at Lithia. They always have us every year up there in the in their stores at Great Falls and Missoula, and now Helena too. So that'll be kind of cool. So looking forward to that one too. That should be good.
One cool thing with your guys' team compared to other teams, like there has been factors where obviously Ford with Bigfoot for many years and other manufacturers, but you guys have been with Ram and Dodge for quite a long time now. And how much of the business, besides doing Monster Jam events and other promoters, is the car crushes and the displays for you guys?
Well, it's very important. Being out at the dealership level is it's ground zero. I mean, after all, our job is to help sell trucks. If you haven't been behind the wheel of a Ram truck and all you knew was Grandpa's old Dodge or an old Power Wagon from years gone by, and you get in today's truck, it's a night and day difference. It's we always laugh that it's like a Charger or a 300 with a bed. That they're so luxurious and even the base models. There's so many features and stuff that they have nowadays. So our job is to help get people onto the dealership lot. Maybe get them away from an F-150 or a Silverado that they may be driving, or a Tacoma or whatever, and get them out there and let them see the Ram products, and maybe hopefully get them into a Ram truck, and maybe not this time, maybe the next time, and get them familiar with their local dealers. Maybe they've never been to their local dealer. Just give them a chance to get service work done, or tires, or whatever, alignments, whatever kind of stuff, or the body shop, and get them familiar with the local dealers. So when we come in there into town and we do those dealership events, it's really important on a lot of levels. And another thing that it makes you feel pretty proud is, let's face it, going to the monster truck races, we all like to do that. Everybody likes to go to the races when they're in town, but some people just can't afford it. With diesel fuel and gas and food, and a gallon of milk being $5 and all these things, maybe mom and dad just can't go to the races, and so this is a chance for the little guys to see the monster truck up close when maybe he wouldn't have gotten another chance. So that there's always that too, and makes you feel good when everybody gets to see the truck. And also it's great when the fans come by and, hey, I saw you down here at Lithia or at Muncie or Fairfield or whatever, and now we're in Monster Jam, and well, I'll see you next summer when you're back at the dealership. So it's kind of cool to to see that side of it too. So
Now, always a pretty cool, really neat, interesting topic about being with Ram and stuff like that is you see a lot of Rams up in the northern part, like in Canada, in Brad's neck of the woods.
Yep.
And we do have fans that sometimes ask, if we do dealership stuff over there too. Uh, People may not understand that there's some types of geographic divide, I guess they would say. If it's anything, Tim, can you explain sometimes why we don't go up to Canada or
yeah,
anything like that?
primarily our product, our program within Chrysler with Ram trucks is in the United States. So it really doesn't behoove us to go, like when we used to go to Aruba or Curacao or Puerto Rico or any of them places like we used to go with USA. It really doesn't do us any good, because ultimately, like I say, they want to sell trucks, and where there's sales matching, there's all these things that follow us along, and they track where we go and what we do, and it's of primary importance. There's just not enough Raminator vehicles to be everywhere that we need to be, so we have to focus on being within the United States. Now, that's not the case with Hotsy. Hotsy are one of our other sponsors that sell our pressure washers, or Brad up there, they're water blasters, they say. Anyway, Hotsy is really dominant in Canada, and they like us to go up there when we can to the Canadian farm shows and the Monster Jam events when we go to Canada. It's very important that we support them. But for Hotsy, we do go to Canada, but primarily for Ram, and this is our 20th anniversary with Ram. I'm really proud of that. Not a lot of motorsports programs have been with the same sponsor for 20 years, and Hotsy has been a long time too. So, that's pretty. You see STP and Petty, and you think of Budweiser and Bernstein, and things over the years, but light beer and Prudhomme, but boy, you do think Raminator and Ram and Dodge, and in the early days, and Raminator has been a good, viable program for what's now Stellantis for 20 years, and it's going strong. No sign of stopping now.
You mentioned guys like Kenny Bernstein. You look at him with Budweiser, John Force with Castrol.
That's right.
A lot of those guys, and it shows. And it's also your guys' organization. You guys have always been a top-notch organization ever since the USA Motorsports days, running execution or, bringing out bulldozer at first, and it really shows, Ram's investment in you guys as well. The trucks always look top notch. You guys are always performing well, and it shows. And that, I think it's rare to see that in these days. Sponsorships going 20 years. It really speaks to how you guys run your operation.
Well, I appreciate that, and you're right. I mean, they've spent millions of dollars on this program, and it has to be done correctly. And when we first got into it, we learned. We thought I can handle this, but we've learned so much along the way, and so many things, so many different things. We've learned all these, about agencies and how all this experiential stuff works, and things that I never really would have known, and data capture, and all of these things that are so important to these programs. In the old days, hey, give me some money and I'll paint your name on the race car. That was the deal. Or I'll put a sign up behind home plate or whatever, and in the baseball field. And that was the extent of the sponsorship stuff. But that's not the case anymore. Now it's business to business driven, or it's experiential driven, it's data capture, sales matching. We got to be able to justify when they spend the money they spend on the Raminator program that it's worth it to them. And okay, what's the return on investment? How many times they don't look to just, did we get our money back? We want to get our money back several times. There's royalties from merchandise. There's licensing fees. All of these things go into it to help pay, drive the sponsorship and drive this program forward. And that's what we it's up to us and our team to do the best job we can. And we're not going to win every race. We know that. We just do the best we can. But it's so much deeper than just going and winning races. You have to be able to be there and be the spokesperson and get people the experience when they come out to the events, whether it's a farm show or a NASCAR race that we might be at, or drag races, or motorcycle events, college football games, fishing tournaments, just all kinds of different types of events that you can imagine that we've been at, and we go to still, and to represent Ram, and we're representing a major. I mean, with Stellantis, look at all the brands there. You got Ferrari and Maserati and Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, New Holland, Case. All these different brands. Then all the European brands that are now part of when the Stellantis merger came in with Vauxhall and Opel and all these other ones that are out there that, there's all kinds of different stuff, but I don't know what all is. I don't even know all of them, but here in the United States, our job is to sell Ram trucks. And that's what we try to do a really good job of that. And my guys, we try to do the best we can with hauling these things all over the country. Wheel bearing failures aside, and try to get to all the dealers we can, as many as we can, all over the country. We try to not just focus. It'd be great to just focus on the Midwest, but we can't do that. We have to get to all of them. There's a lot of them around the country. We obviously we can't see them all, but we try to do the best we can.
And also I always say the cool side of it too is, not everyone is a monster truck fan, but having the opportunity of taking Raminator to a international auto show, the Twin City Auto Show in Minneapolis, the Detroit Auto Show, the Chicago Auto Show, the opportunities that the Hall Brothers team has with showing the public, the general public, monster trucks up close. How cool is that?
Yeah, that you make a good point. A lot of times, either people that follow, maybe they're hardcore drag racing fans or NASCAR fans or sprint car fans or whatever, and they don't get a chance to see, our vehicles up close, and maybe they stop by at the dealership or something, and they get a chance to look at them, and they say, "Wow, I never realized these things were this complex." You think the barbaric task is to drive over and smash some cars or something, and they think that's all it is. But then when they look at them up close and they see, wow, you got 30 inches of wheel travel and you got 2,000 horsepower and all of the special features that make the monster trucks what they are today, they just can't believe that there's that much technology in them, and how cool they are set up, and that makes me feel good when people get to look at them up close and see them and comment on the workmanship and stuff that we have. We've gotten a lot of comments over the years of how we keep our trucks nice, and we try to do the best we can with keeping them clean and keeping all the everything pristine and looking as good as we can. And that's because of all of the other things we do. You never know whose eyes are going to be looking at it, whether it's a corporate executive from one of our sponsors or whether it's somebody that could be potentially another one that's out there looking at it, or something that maybe comes up and doesn't want to see an old piece of junk, with that needs repairs. They want to see this thing looking cool, and they think, wow, this is pretty neat. So that's a neat element of it as well.
And I bet being a part of such a legendary company with Dodge and Ram has allowed you guys to do a lot of cool, things with, on the NASCAR side, the NHRA side. I know when we talked to Mark quite a while ago, he was talking about stuff that you guys did in Las Vegas, with some driving experiences and stuff. How cool is that, being able to mingle with a lot of the other teammates in Dodge and SRT, like Matt Hagan, Leah Stewart, and how is all of that, as well?
Well, that's really cool to get to. When we did a lot of stuff with Schumachers when they were the Mopar team, and of course we met Neil Strasbaugh, along the way, and now he's successful there with Tony Stewart's Top Fuel team, and it's kind of neat to to see those partnerships continue. And then we met people that were drifting, from drifting that were Dodge sponsored. We NASCAR people. We've met a lot of NASCAR people, and Richard Petty driving experience guys, Mark Daly and his crew that we gotten to know over the years, and we got to experience some of their stuff, and all these different things that we got to do as a part of this is really a bonus. That we've gotten to race with Ted Musgrave and Bobby Hamilton and other guys that we were racing against them on a go-kart track. I mean, that kind of cool. Brendan Gaughan, we've raced with, a bunch of times, and all these guys that when we did that when Mark got to race the Viper thing with the champions and raced with, we raced with Roger Penske. Roger hadn't raced in 40 years. He came out of retirement to race there, and Mark was racing with him, and Alan Johnson from the Pro Stock Dodge team, and let's see, there was gosh, all the at the time, all the Dodge NASCAR guys, Brad Keselowski and Kurt Busch, and some of these. Mark said Kurt Busch lapped him 3 times in the Viper there, going around the track there at Miller Motorsports Park. But it was kind of neat, and he beat some guys that put them in the wall or put cars on the fence or spun out or crashed or whatever. And he ended up finishing, getting a top 10 finish with all these guys. Sam Hornish was there, I remember, Indy 500 champion. There's lots of guys. So it was kind of cool that he got to race in something like that, and I got to be a part of that as well behind the scenes and meet a lot of those guys. And it was that was all really cool. And that also led to the chance when we this world speed record stuff, when that come up, Chrysler said, hey, what would it take to set a record? Let's look at setting a record, with Raminator. Let's set a speed record. Let's set a record. Well, there's a lot of things we could do, they said. Lots of different records that are out there. And so one of our Ram executives went to Guinness, and he said, well, what records are out there? What official recognized records are out there? And they wanted to come up with a wheelie one, the longest monster truck wheelie. And Matt Dishman worked for us at the time, and he was real good at those slap wheelies. And he said, oh, yeah, bring it on. Let's do that. I want to do that real bad. I think that'd be cool. And there was, of course, the long jump one that Ruddy had, and then Joe Sylvester got, and then Runny got back, and all that. But the speed one was kind of the one that I'm a drag racing fan, and that was the one that appealed to me and Mark. And we thought, well, and plus that's pretty cut and dried. You either ran this, well, at least I thought it was at the time. I thought we'd run the speed and and all that. So we looked into that. Well, I don't know if COVID changed things or whatever, but it seems like it's a little bit easier. For the hoops that we had to jump through at the time to do this were just amazing. We had to bring over an executive from Guinness, an official, and then we had to survey the land, the lay of the land. We had to prove that we had the correct, the distance, and then they wouldn't accept speed, any kind of speed, like radar guns or anything like that. Everything had to be done with time over distance. Similar to the way the end of the drag strip is set up, where the last 60 feet the car goes through the time, and it calculates the speed to get through there. So that's how they did. So we had to measure everything out. Then we even had to have our tape measure that we measured everything with. That had to be certified, so that they knew we weren't cheating up the tape measure, to change the distance or something. So they certified the tape measure. They certified the layout of the land. They certified all of the calculations and everything that were going to be made. Then they were going to give us 3 attempts. When we made the official, well, let me back up a little bit. When they came to us and they said, we want to do this, can you do it? Our response, oh yeah, sure, we can do it. And then I turned to Mark, can we do it? So we went out to fortunately here 5 miles from our shop is old Chanute Air Force Base, the Rantoul Aviation Center. It is now here in Rantoul, Illinois. And we made some runs, and we quickly realized that we didn't have enough room to shut down. You didn't just take the monster truck and slam on the brakes when you get to the end. We didn't change the monster truck at all. We didn't take the planetary gears out. We didn't take the drive shafts out. We didn't tie down the suspension. We didn't true up and get any round tires, perfectly round tires. We didn't even put on a fresh blower, let alone turn the blower up. The only thing we did was change the gearing, just like we would do if we came to Hagerstown Speedway or Pro MT in Daytona, or ran at the State Farm Center in Champaign, or whatever, Monster Jam. We'll have a specific gear that we're going to put in the truck to run that track, and that's what we'll run. So that's what we did. We changed the gearing, and that was it. I had a lot of respect when I saw Ronnie set that record jump thing in Indianapolis. He made the jump, and then he freestyled the rest of the show. And I thought, well, now that's the way it should be done. He did the thing, the performance. He set the record, and then he used the monster truck in just what it was supposed to do. It did its monster truck show, and I thought, well, that was pretty cool. He didn't cheat up the truck or change up the truck where it wasn't normal, in normal monster truck condition. And that's why I thought, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it like that. We're not changing anything. We're not changing any engines. We're not taking front drive shafts out. We're not taking the planetary gears out. We're not changing anything to make it go faster. We're not taking anything off. We had a rear axle that we could have put on there that's not a steering axle, that takes away the weight of the knuckles and the rear steering tie rods and all that stuff. We didn't take any of that. We just took the truck right as it was and went down the track. So after we couldn't do it in Rantoul with enough shutdown room, because we had all the suspension, and like I say, you can't slam down the brakes when all that suspension comes down. The rear end gets pretty light, and it got pretty scary. So what we did was we thought, well, we need a little more shutdown room. Well, somebody knew somebody, and Matt or Jeremy or somebody knew somebody over in Danville, and they happened to be working on an air runway. And they said, come on over. We got one blocked off. You can make some runs over here. And now it was real long, so we had plenty of shutdown. We could just go through our speed trap and then just let out of the gas and let the truck coast. Had plenty of room to coast to a stop, and until you could get down to a manageable speed, and then you could apply the brakes like normally. So we did that, and we set Jeremy and Matt's dad, Gary. He's a former security guard, a prison security man, and he has some law enforcement experience. And he happened to have a radar gun, so he was set up about halfway down the track, and it was pretty low tech, but we took a Ram pickup truck right behind Mark. Matt was driving, and Dale was leaning over his shoulder with a camera focused on the digital speedometer of the Ram truck. And Mark took off, and they stayed with him as best they could right behind him. And at 104 miles an hour, Mark was still pulling away, and you can see that in the video, how he's pulling away. 107 miles an hour, he's still pulling away, and we thought we better call it there. He starts to let out of the gas. It went by the radar gun at over 100 miles an hour, and then the guys were, we didn't have the best communication as to when he's going to start stopping, and they didn't want to run into the back of him and tear up our truck that Ram owned. So we started slowing down, and that was what we did there. So video exists. If we needed to submit a video to say we went 107 or 104 miles an hour, we got it, and if that is enough for the record, then we'll submit the video. But it wasn't. We were told we had to do all these other things. So they wanted to do it at Circuit of the Americas because that was a track that Ram was involved with at the time. So that's where we went. We wanted to do it on the front straightaway. That's what we did. We surveyed it. It passed all the tests. We didn't do anything to the truck. We brought a backup truck just in case because we were told we would have 3 attempts, and that was it. We had 3 attempts at it, and that was all we could do. So we thought, well, if this thing kicks the rods out of it or something on the first attempt, we better have another one ready to go just in case. Again, nothing was done to them. The wheels weren't trued up. In fact, the secondary one, I'm glad we didn't have to use it because it had some bent wheels on it that probably would have looked pretty stupid at 100 miles an hour. But anyway, that's what we had. And so we had to have an official horn, which we still have. And the official horn had to be blown at the start of an official attempt so that they knew that this was really the thing, and we couldn't say, well, that was just a practice run. We still got 3 attempts. So Dale blew the official horn. Mark took off, and we went down there through the timing lights, and we beat the record. It was 96 something at the time. I think it was 98 mile an hour, so we beat the record. Mark said, I want to go 100. Let's do this again, because we knew we already went 100. So we went to our secondary attempt. We blew the official horn. We made it down the track, and we went 99.1. And that's when I realized that I didn't have the timing area in exactly the right place. It's a mistake I regret, but I should have moved it about 4 or 5 feet further down the track, because as he crossed the out part of the time measuring zone there, he was still accelerating. So we took the reading too soon. So I corrected that. I'm ready to do this on the 3rd attempt. And that's when the reality set in of this isn't our track. Nissan came along and they said, hey, wait a minute. We've got this track rented. We have the Nissan Delta Wing road race car, or whether, I don't know, they run in that GT like IMSA stuff or whatever it is. And we're going to be, we've rented the track to test this Delta Wing Nissan prototype sports car. One of its competitors is the Viper. And you guys got all of these, cameras here, and you're tied to FCA at the time, Chrysler. And you're going to go back and you're going to show Chrysler Viper people what, our prototype here is, and we can't have that, and, you shouldn't be here. And so we didn't get our 3rd attempt. And that's the way it goes. But, I know we would have been back to our faster run, and that explains why we ran faster at the airfield than we did at Texas. But it was what it was, and that anybody can say, well, we should have, would have, should have, could have, but that's the mistake we made, and I should have had that in a better position, but that's the way it went. So we had to pack up and leave. It was still successful. We enjoyed it. I'm glad the truck made it, and we didn't have to use a backup. And that video of the truck coming down that front straightaway, boy, that sounds cool if you listen to it, and you Google it, and you hear that baby screaming down the track. You can hear the brakes screaming and everything as it goes through. As he applies the brakes, you can hear them whizzing, and it was really cool. It was a lot of fun, but we did it. We set the record at the time. And, then subsequently other people have beaten it. They did modify the trucks. I think they made no secret that they modified the trucks. And I guess if Guinness accepts that, then, that's the way it is. When Feld did their TV show and brought out their record TV show and stuff in 2020. I honestly, I think we needed that. The sport needed that at the time. COVID had was decimating the industry, and people couldn't go to events, and we couldn't have events, and it gave people a chance to still keep monster trucks relevant and keep them in their mind. And so I think it was important that they did that. I'm glad they did that and had that show. And of course I didn't like them beating our record, but nevertheless, I think it was cool that they set so many other records there. When they did donuts and jumps and all the other things that they were doing. I just thought that was probably something that was needed at the time. So and congratulations to Joe. He went out and if the rules allow him to make the changes that they made, and he did a good job. And he also brought monster trucks in front of a lot of people that haven't, that maybe don't see him, to go to that Night of Fire event and see the funny cars and all the other things. That was kind of cool that he was in front of that crowd, and hopefully convince some people that when the monster trucks are in town, I got to go see them. That was pretty cool. So, we saw that guy and he made a run, and that was kind of cool. So, hopefully, that's what this is all about, getting us in front of other people. And so we'll go to our Stellantis buddies and, Matt Hagan and Neil Strasbaugh, and so maybe we'll borrow a nitro motor and put it in the Raminator since, and we'll go, we'll go set the record out of reach. And, but be that as it may, that was the story of the record. And, a lot of people say, well, how did that all go about? Well, that's pretty much the whole story. But again, we had to have all of these officials. It was a very expensive deal because we had to bring in officials and surveyors. And I mean, it wasn't just a, let's go out here and make a run deal, and film it. It was a big deal. And I don't understand why we had to do all that and now they don't, but maybe it's COVID or something. I don't know.
Well, since we're learning more and more about how entering and stuff like that, have you talked to Mark about potentially getting the record back?
Well, Chrysler came to us and they said, "Hey, top speed of a TRX is 118 miles an hour. What do you think of that? Could you do that?" And I thought, well, I promise you, when that truck went down the track at Circuit of the Americas, or when it was on that airfield, that was as fast as it was going to go. We left nothing on the table. It went as fast as it could go in real monster truck legal race trim. It wasn't lowered. Aerodynamically, the vehicles obviously are very dirty. The wind getting up underneath the body and all that stuff. There wasn't any shielding. We didn't take the front dry shaft out. We didn't take the planetary gears out. We didn't take weight off. It was race legal. We could have turned off the track and come back and crush cars. Exactly the way it was set up. So when they said, "Can you go 118?" Well, we probably could, but it would require us to make those changes. That some of these other guys maybe have done. We'd have to go along those to do it. So if that's not in the rules, I don't know that there's rules for setting the world's record, but I guess Guinness makes the rules, and if they allow it, then we could change up some things and go out there and make a run too. But right now, our focus is more on with the challenges that the industry faces. I'm talking about the truck industry faces with inventory and the computer chips problems and getting vehicles on the lot. Right now, our focus is helping Ram trucks continue to be the best that they can be, in all those JD Power Awards that they're winning, and how they've overtaken Chevrolet in market share, and moving up after they continue to nip at the F-150's heels, trying to get to more of that market share. And I believe it's a superior product. I think most people that have them also believe that. Our focus right now is to get on the lots, to help our dealers that are facing all those challenges with inventory and stuff like that. Get people in the door so that they can remain viable and they can do good, and help keep them around so that when times are better, it's going to really be good for all of us.
You know, one cool thing with being partnered with Ram and stuff with Mopar and SRT, you know, with the direct connection, you know, program, now that they're coming out with the crate motors for like the Hellcat crate motor, the Demon crate motor. Have you guys toyed with the idea of taking one of those crate engines and throwing it in one of the trucks just to see what if it might be a little bit better than what you guys have for reliability? Like, have you guys ever kind of talked about that and maybe thrown the idea out to Ram?
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up. Remember, just not so long ago, they campaigned. They brought out the Elephant engine. That it was a Hellcat 426, a bigger Hellcat, if you will. Had I think a 3 liter supercharger. I don't speak that language. I'm 871 to me, but a little bit bigger supercharger, and some of these things on it, and it made 1,000 horsepower right off the bat. And then Schumacher's has taken those and tuned them up and brought them up to 1,200 horsepower. And this is something that they're running with 10W30 oil in it that you start up and let it idle in the driveway. Like you warm up the car before you get in the wintertime. They're not dragging heaters out there and putting underneath them to warm them up. Like we have to do in the wintertime before we start. With the 70 weight oil that we have, and they're buying these engines and they got warranties. And they're running on pump gas, and it's almost like starting up the truck. Like I say, it's like starting up the truck. And when we go to Monster Jam and we have to test all the lanes, and we test the right lane and left lane and center lane, we make all these RII tests all the time. And you think, boy, this just be so much easier if it's just like starting your dually or whatever, yes, we have toyed with that idea. We have talked about it. There's EFI technology and a lot of other modern day technology that people, there's people that get in cars today. They don't know what a choke is or any of that. They don't, if they're going to go up Pikes Peak, they don't lean the motor down or make adjustments to the carburetor or anything like that. They just drive. The computer does all that for you. It starts it when it's cold. It starts it when it's hot. It adjusts it when it's high altitude. It adjusts it when it's at sea level. It makes all those changes for you. So wouldn't it be nice if we took one of those elephants, threw it in there, and at the end of the night we just go to the hotel. We don't we don't worry about it. 1,200 horsepower at Monster Jam, probably plenty. I don't know that we need a 2,000 horse blown Hemi that we have in there for running around in them little arenas. Probably don't need it, and certainly if we had all the computer technology and stuff that's available on today's modern day engines, tuning and doing all that stuff, well, it has to be better for the environment inside the arena, with air quality and things like that. So, it certainly is something that we look forward to making some. I'd like to try one. I really would like to try one, and I think it's probably something we're going to look at pretty soon.
Now, outside of the 20th anniversary of Raminator, this is actually the 35th anniversary of Hall Brothers Racing, and the achievements of Truck of the Year, Drive of the Year, many championships that you and your brother and all the employees have achieved throughout the years. I mean, in the longevity of us, with everything that you guys have done, talk about being in this industry for 35 plus years.
Yeah, it's kind of cool, when you think about it like that, and then ultimately getting into the Hall of Fame last year, Mark and I together, that was pretty cool. We've seen it come a long ways. When we first started, I think I've told you the story of when we built our first truck and Hobbyco calling at lunchtime and coming out to see the thing, and we built the first truck and ran over Mom's mailbox trying to learn to drive it with the rear steering and didn't understand how that worked, and blew the motor up in the driveway trying to learn things. We didn't know what we were doing, and first time I landed and bent the steering wheel, and we came a long way since then. And I remember going to the races when my spare parts consisted of a set of spark plugs. I'm not sure I had a wrench to change them, but I had some spark plugs. And I remember the first time I got to go to a race with I went to Grand Rapids for Beckley with the tank, and we had a spare transmission. And I was almost hoping the transmission would go out because I had a spare so I could change it, because I thought that was cool. the open flatbed, and you'd have to knock all the snow off of the thing when you get there to, so you could unload and get the truck inside. Um, we certainly have seen the sport progress. We've seen a lot. We've met a lot of great people, raced with a lot of great competitors that have come and gone. Have retired over the years, and we've been fortunate enough to still hang in there and get to race against a lot of these new stars of today, which is kind of cool. Um, we've seen so many old buildings that we've raced in, classic old buildings like Cow Palace out in San Francisco, or just all these other buildings that where Evil Knievel jumped inside. Famous old places, the Coliseum in Los Angeles that we've got to race in. All of these places we got to race in, and then you go and now you get to race in. Well, they tore that place down. They built the new stadium across town or across the parking lot or whatever, and now we're racing in the new stadiums, or new arenas or whatever. That's kind of cool. The places we've been, all the racetracks and storied facility, raced at Darlington, raced at Daytona, Talladega, all of these places, like the famous places like that we've gotten to race at. It's amazing to me that all the things that we've gotten to do. And when you stop and think about it and you look back over 35 years of doing this and stand out in the driveway when all the equipment's there, and you think back to the days when we used to rent a flatbed for $35 a day from the moving and storage company, because we didn't have a semi-trailer. And we had to hope when we booked a show that we could, I hope I can borrow that trailer because I don't have a way to get there. Traded a toolbox for an old semi, and my dad asking me, "Why? How in the hell are you going to drive? You don't know how to drive a semi." And I thought, no, but I know enough that I can learn. And somebody, and Daryl Wagner, a crew guy that we've lost along the way. His dad was a truck driver, and he helped us along the way. A few things to, okay, here's what you got to do. This is how you do it. And don't use the clutch when you shift, and all the things that he taught us how to do. Remember, you're going down a hill, you can go down too fast. You only go down too fast once. You can go down too slow hundreds of times. So just take it easy. All the things he taught us along the way. We learned to drive semis, and now we got a whole bunch of them. And the trailers and stuff that we have, going from when we first got our first enclosed trailer that. It would cost us $8,000, and it might as well have been $800,000 at the time. It was so expensive for us to buy that, but we got it, and then we could secure things. And we got all these T&E trailers now, the fancy ones, and they're so nice to have. And you got welders on board and generators and trailers that are air conditioned and heated. And we didn't have any of that stuff. I remember laying on the floor in the garage at Kansas City. At the Pro MT race, there was like, I don't know, it must have been 300 degrees outside, and I'll bet you in that garage it was 500 degrees, and we were electrical cords were snapping. It was so hot that they were laying on the ground snapping. And I told Vicky, we got to get an air conditioning rig or something. This is just crazy. And now we've come so far, and we get to race and with Monster Jam and with some of these other promoters, and that we've still we've raced with Bill Easterly and Keith Speller and these guys at Monster Jam. We raced with them when they were Dustin Brown there at Monster Jam. We raced with his dad when we were back in the mud race in the USA days and stuff, and seeing these kids grow up around this, and now Andrew Palachko and these guys that are executives, that were we're internet kids writing letters to us. And Andrew sent me some pictures the other day from Bloomsburg that he took when he was a kid at the Jamboree, and he said, "Hey, look what I came across," and that's kind of cool. It doesn't make you feel old at all. It's kind of special when they do that. I think it's neat.
Being the 35 years, have you guys thought about, and this kind of relates to some questions that we've had, bringing back, the Big Boss name, or bringing back Executioner once again? Obviously Big Boss originally being a Ford, you obviously can't do a Ford, but bringing it back as maybe an older body style Dodge or something. Have you guys ever thought about that, doing something like that?
Well, we certainly have, but really with with the sponsorship that we have with Ram, we need to be pushing the modern day product. The nostalgic product is kind of cool. I think rather there might be a chance that we do a current modern day Ram with some nostalgic paint on it, something like that. I think there's probably an opportunity for doing something like that at some point, maybe at the next milestone. Um, I could see us doing something like that. Yeah, the Executioner. The thing with Executioner, it was pretty cool, and I love the paint job and all that we had. That we came up with. I think I've told the story that I kind of liked Walker Evans's Dodge Baja trucks back in the day. He ran the Baja trucks with the white nose and the blue bed, and it had the rainbow colors kind of in the middle there, and in the transition, and I always thought that looked cool. And so I didn't want to exactly copy it, but that's where I came up with the checkered flag thing. And then Daryl and I tried to tape that off, and we were like pulling our hair out thinking this is way harder than what we thought this was going to be, trying to tape off these squares, because you tape some of the inside, some of the outside. But nevertheless, we came up with that, and that was cool. But the Executioner name, I think, kind of it kind of played its course with the changes that came along in society. It probably wasn't something we could use anymore. It was just maybe it was time to retire it. I don't know. We saw a lot of alcohol funny cars of the day that had their, back in the day when they had, a lot of them had names and stuff on them. Even fuel cars had names on them, the Bounty Hunter, and you hear things like that come to mind. But there were a lot of them that just had like there were it would have just said All Brothers. And we thought about maybe it's time to do something like that as we continue our search for sponsors. But then along came the deal with Raminator, and it's a moot point. It was they had a contest. Raminator won, the name Raminator wins, and it's been Raminator for 20 years.
Now we'll talk about you had the contest, but I think it was a pretty cool story learning about the name Ramunition, because the process, the beginning of when you guys had the Dodge slash Ram deal, it was the Raminator truck. Tell the story about Tim, about the process of having an additional number two truck, second truck that was going to be going along with the Raminator truck.
Yep. Well, as you think about it, 20 years, being Raminator for 20 years, and being in business 35, that means that we've been with Chrysler longer than we haven't. So they've been a part of our team for longer than we were without them. So when you think about things like that, it kind of really blows your mind. But there were, the Dodge, back in the Dodge days, there were like the Dodge Pro Stock team from Wayne County, Scott Jeffrey on and Daryl Alderman, and they were really wreaking havoc in the Pro Stock wars back in the day, with their battles with Warren Johnson and the AC Delco stuff, and his son Kurt. Anyway, there was a lot of those battles. Well, those cars, they looked alike for a while. And there was one of them was black and white, and the other one was white and black, if you will. And so they were making some changes along the way. And as the Raminator program expanded, at first it was just two Raminators. We had a Raminator and a backup one, and they wanted a show truck. And then it was, let's add a ride truck. And you know what? We could bring a second competition truck. That would be cool. Let's come up with a second competition truck that could come to the races. But we wanted it completely different. It didn't want to be another Raminator, like Raminator number 2 or something like that. Let's do it. They wanted it completely different. So I was leafing through a brochure, a Ram truck brochure. And like you get if you're going to go buy a new truck, you're looking at the brochure, and you look through there and you want to see that, well, do I want the Tradesman, or do I want the Laramie, or what package do I want? Okay, then the next page, here's all the engines. Do I want the Hemi or the Cummins or the 6-cylinder Magnum engine at the time? And up at the top of the page it said Ramunition. And it was the idea was, this is what the bullet that you select for your Ram truck. And I thought, well, there's your name. There's your name, Rammunition. That's the perfect name. We thought, there was Rampage was already out there, and Ramrod, and all the other various Ram-based things. And I thought, there could always be something along those lines. Maybe it's a sinister looking vehicle. Maybe it's a black sheep, or something like that. Nope, it's Rammunition. There we go. That's the name. And so we came up with all these concepts for ammunition. Some they liked, some they didn't like for various reasons, and we settled upon one that was kind of military-like and was cool, and it's kind of have been that way ever since. It's always had a bit of camo on it. And we had some camo partners along the way. That there were some camo packages on certain outdoorsman Ram vehicles at the time, and we had mossy oak stuff and. So there was some different packages. Rammunition's always been more the outdoorsman type truck. Raminator was the other one. So that was, and they were red and black, and then we switched them. And we still to this day confuse show directors or guys in the back everywhere. When wait a minute, which the red one or the black one? Which one? Ram you or Ram in or what? So I'm just gonna break Marker Kurt. So it's funny to hear the guys at Monster Jam or something, when they get confused of which one they want. But that's how Rammunition came about, and it's been with us ever since. And it just continues to be a strong part of the program. I just got a text today where they're gonna continue to we're trying to convert. I don't think it's a secret. We're trying to convert Raminator over to a TRX. We just haven't had the TRX vehicles that we could use to make the mold. So we have been kind of stuck there trying to get a vehicle long enough because of the inventory problems and all that. All of the TRXs that are in the corporate fleet are they're spoken for. They're going to different events, and we have to have one out of service for probably at least a month. And it's just not in the cards right now that we could pull one off and have them make the body mold. So we're still waiting on that. There's some exciting new trucks coming that I think Rammunition is going to get to be part of. Some different, a little bit different trim packages and body styles that I look forward to seeing what that's going to be about. So there's some new product coming, and they're gonna debut it with us on some of these things. So that'll be kind of cool as it, if it comes to fruition. But for now, Raminator and Rammunition are 2022 Power Wagons, and we're proud of that. They do a good job, and the Power Wagon's the most capable off-road pickup there is, and that's pretty cool. Not every day you can buy a pickup truck that comes with a winch and front and rear lockers, and all of the stuff that Power Wagon features, this connectable sway bars, and all the stuff that comes right from the factory that make that truck so special.
When you start talking about 90s NHRA, I just get all giddy because that's, what I grew up watching. And, the Dodge boys, they run roughshod. I still remember it was Houston 94, Scott Jeffreyon versus Warren in the finals with that whole staging duel. That race I'll always remember that. One thing I wanted to bring up is the Rupert Raminator, because that was such a interesting partnership at the time. I believe the guy Rupert was a part of, I think it was either Survivor or The Amazing Race. They had that whole huge boom of reality TV at that point. How did that come about? Because that was such an interesting, whole idea with that truck.
Yeah, Rupert was from Indianapolis, and of course, Special Events was from Indianapolis, and we were working a lot with Special Events at the time. And Rupert had, he was part of Survivor, and he didn't win the first time, I think, when he was on there, but then he won one of the All-Star events or something. Anyway, he became a Survivor champion, and he also had a foundation there in Indianapolis. I think it was tuxedos and tennis shoes or something he called it. But anyway, he had a foundation that he helped people, and he got involved with Special Events with Bruce Hubley and their people, and they came to us and said, "Hey, we'd like to do some kind of special thing with him Do you think that this is something we could do? So we thought, well, yeah. And so I went back to it was Dodge at the time, and I went back to him and I said, would you be interested in this? Could we could do something with Rupert? And oh yeah, that would be cool. So we did a special tie-dyed up special laminator, because that was his trademark, was his tie-dyed shirt. And so we did a tie-dyed package laminator, and we still have the tailgate hanging in the shop today that he autographed. And he drove the truck in Bloomsburg and in Indianapolis. It was a big Bloomsburg was kind of like a come out here and get familiar with it, and then later in the now gone Hoosier Dome, the fall event there in November was a big deal, the big series ending event for special events at the time. And Rupert drove the laminator in, and that was kind of cool for him to be able to do that in front of his hometown fans. And it helped raise money for his foundation. So that was the story of the Rupert Raminator. It was pretty cool. We had a few special ones along the way. We had a rodeo Raminator too. Of course we do a lot of stuff with Ram Rodeo. A lot of rodeo events. The NFR out in Vegas, and we're getting ready to go to the Colorado State Fair for the Ram Rodeo program. Ram Rodeo is huge across the United States. And we had a special rodeo Raminator that we took to Las Vegas one time, and that was pretty cool too.
Man, it's learning all about that stuff and in general. And one of my last questions for you, Tim. Man, just hearing the stories and stuff like that is, the cool the looks that you get also with your trucks. They're the clean, how clean they are, the different ideas and stuff like that. Also, I mean, people may not have seen the Hotsy truck too, when it does all the farm shows and stuff like that. Also, people may throw some suggestions of designs and stuff like that to you. What is it like, the process of turning out, like, for example, the Hotsy truck, from going from the yellow, the red flames to now the black and red flames? What is the process of that?
Well, you're right. There's a lot of eyes on us, and when you're going up and down the road, as you have experienced, people taking pictures going down the road. People they'll take pictures of the rig. Or I had a Chrysler executive one time send me an email, and he said, "Hey, look what I saw," and he had pictures of the back door of the rig. He was, he happened to be a Chrysler CEO, and he was following the rig going down the road, and he saw it, and I thought, well, that was cool. But to your point about the paint jobs on the trucks. With Ram, we go through a few different individuals that help us design things, and it has to go through all these different committees, and they look at the different paint jobs and the way that, for example, the word Raminator is displayed, the font. They want to make sure that if Raminator, they of course they've seen a Raminator run with maybe a bed sides off or something, something's torn off in the middle of an event. Well, you don't want to where part of the word is a bad word or something. Not only in English, but in maybe some kind of foreign language. You don't want part of the word to be on there that would display something that was offensive to somebody. So they look at things like that. Now, Chrysler or Ram doesn't want flames or anything along those lines. Hotsy, on the other hand, that's their whole business. They want the flames. They want hot. They want that. So we come up in house with some ideas. We run it by some of our designer people that we work with. We then go to the marketing people of various companies, let them look at several different selections. They pick them out. They like the colors, whatever they like. The black Hotsy truck, if you haven't seen it, it's pretty stunning. And Monster Jam guys, they really liked the red Hotsy truck when it came out. They said, "Oh, that thing is really cool." And I said, "Well, you should see the black one. The black one is, I think it really looks cool, and it looks so neat at the events and stuff. And it's going to get a little bit of a update too, where it's converting to a power wagon, so it's going to be looking pretty cool here pretty soon too. But that's how it works. We come up with the design, the ideas, and then the marketing people kind of select from there.
I do want to talk about this. I want to brag on my co-host here, also, crew chief and guy that works for you guys. he got a cool opportunity a couple months ago back in May to finally get behind the wheel of one of the trucks and do a bit of a car crush. That was awesome to see. I've known Dan for a long time. He's a great dude. It's awesome to see him get that chance. And and all the guys that work with you guys, Nuge, Cheech, everybody, talk about having a good, solid crew and what that means to you guys.
Well, it means everything. You got to have the help behind the scenes, and a lot of these guys that we have now, Nathan and Nugent in particular, they're just learning. They came from other parts of the sport. They came from gaming and from all of those things, and Nathan, I mean, he's been hanging around since he was a little kid. And so they're just learning. Now, just the other day, he climbed into number 9 there, Dan, and he said, I fit in this truck pretty well. And he reminded me, make sure I knew that he, that he did. I wouldn't have to change anything. I just fit right in. And, so it's neat. Of course, they all, everybody wants a chance to drive them. But we've always been of the opinion that you need to know the machine before you can race it. So I always have taught people, brought crew guys along, let them work on the machine, let them learn all about its inner workings, because but when something goes wrong with one of these things, you need to know what are your limits. What can you do? Can you safely keep going? Do you need to stop now? Can you finish off this car crush? Can you finish off this race run? Can you finish off this freestyle? Or do you need to stop now? Those are things that I think are critically important. And I think you need to learn those things. And the only way you learn those things is by learning of what the truck is made of. That's your crew guy. Then you got to learn you're operating a vehicle that's 10 feet off the ground, 13 feet wide. So now you drive the ride truck and you learn about driving the ride truck. You learn how rear steering works, and anybody that's driven a forklift alongside a wall will know that you got to watch where you're going when you just turn and the back of the forklift's into the wall. That's what happens with rear steering, and then you got to learn which way to move the rear steering and what you want to do and how you crab or how you go around a turn and all of these things. So that's the natural progression. And then you get into a racer. And I remember Curtis telling me that when he first got to make a run or start up a ride truck and drive it, and he told his buddies, and he came from, that team demo stuff and all of that where they go out, and, as Jan Gabriel said, these guys just don't give a damn. They're out there and they're crashing and all that stuff. And he tells his buddies, I started that thing up, in that great big Hemi, and it's vibrating and shaking and all that behind you. And they say, oh man, I'd just go out and I'd hammer that, well, yeah, of course you say that until you get in there and it's you strapped in there, and now it's your turn to, now it's a little bit more real. And all the simulators in the world don't bring that real life experience to you of that 2,000 horsepower back there shaking you and ready for you to mash the gas. And they're capable of some really unbelievable performance numbers when you think about it, the way they're geared. The 0 to 60 comes up mighty quick, and a monster truck at full throttle can cover a lot of ground in 1 second. Now I know it's not 0 to 150 in 9/10 of a second like our Top Fuel brothers over there, but nevertheless, when you're 10 feet off the ground and in something that weighs 11,000 pounds and that can fly 30 feet in the air, it's an experience that you have to know what you're doing to get behind the wheel of one of these things. So that's why we kind of bring people along slowly. I get emails every day. I want to drive a monster truck. Can you help me? I know I want to race. I want to be. Well, it doesn't work that way. Not with our team. We don't just bring people in and let them drive and then go home. It's a rare occasion when we'll bring in somebody to drive like that. Mostly, we want people to learn the machine and from the ground up, know what they're dealing with, and then we'll proceed through the various steps.
Man, it's a learning process no matter what, and also, representing the team too when you're in public situations like displays and dealership visits, farm shows, stuff like that. The people that you can handle that also.
Yeah, and it's tough to find people that they say well, they want to do this. I want to do this. Well, first of all, there's so much more to it behind the scenes than there is when you're a fan sitting in the stands. It's great to go to the races, and obviously we can't do this without our fans. So we appreciate our fans coming to the races and see us. But there's more to when behind the scenes. It never ends. It doesn't. You don't just load up and go to the next one. You got to work on the thing and all the maintenance and do all of those things. And then you're right. When you're in public, we're representing not only Hall Brothers, but you're representing the Ram Truck division of Stellantis and Hotsy, and and all of our other product sponsors and stuff that are out there too. Whether it's Clark Gaskets or Optima or Mopar or anybody else that's out there, you're representing all those people. So we got to have a guy that can talk to a PhD or a kid. They can talk to the smartest man in the world or a guy that's never seen one of these things and just crawled out from under a rock. Then they have to be able to dress appropriately to represent the companies that they represent. They have to be able to physically put on an 800-pound tire, and when at the end of the day roll it up into the semi. They have to, these are all the things that we're looking for, and an ideal candidate also has a CDL, so they can drive the rig up and down the road safely and transport it, all over the United States, because they never stop. We're going all the time. Chrysler doesn't, and Hotsy, they don't pay us to leave these things at home and have them set in the garage. They're somewhere all the time. So those are the people that we have. We have to have people that can work on them, people that can speak to all these people in public, people that can move the tires around and do all the work and all that stuff. That's what we need, and it's tough to find them.
And this will be my last question. It's kind of two questions. One's a fan question that we've had asked a couple times. Are you guys going to be displaying a truck at the Woodward Dream Cruise in Detroit this upcoming week?
I wish we were. We used to go up there all the time, but no, not this time. That Northtown shopping center there that was at, I think it was 13 Mile in Woodward, it became a hospital or something. I think that hospital that was there kind of took over most of it. And I don't know. Chrysler moved a lot of their exhibit stuff to M1, to that roadkill thing and a lot of that stuff. And so, no, we aren't part of that. But we will be up there at the Detroit Auto Show. So the picture truck will be there, and we'll be doing car crushes every day of the Detroit Auto Show. So you could see us up there.
Then my final question: any advice for somebody who's going to be driving a ride truck for his first time this upcoming weekend?
Well, you know what? You got to be careful. You got to be aware of your surroundings. You got to watch what you're doing because things happen a lot quicker than you'll anticipate. And from a customer satisfaction standpoint, you got to be able, when you give rides, you got to have fun with the people in the back, that are back there enjoying themselves, because this is a once in a lifetime chance, as it is for you to get to drive the ride truck. It is for them to get to ride in it. So they don't get to ride in a ride truck every day. They didn't get up this morning thinking, hey, today we're going to get to ride in a ride truck. So you got to make it worth their while. As far as I'm not talking about, you got to give them the run of the, scare them to whatever. You got to look at your load, and you got to think, okay, do I have grandma back there or a couple of 16-year-old kids that are ready to go out and raise some hell? You got a pregnant lady, maybe you got somebody that doesn't want to get all muddy, and the next kid wants to go out there and go through the mud bog. So you got to make sure that everybody you balance it so everybody has a good time. That's what's important when the ride truck experience. Everybody has a good time, and when they get they get down the ladder, they think, man, that was cool.
Well, I don't think there's going to be anybody on the truck, but hey, who knows? Stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
Man, any social media people can follow the team at?
Yep, we got our Facebook page. We're our Hall Brothers Racing Facebook page. We're going to redo the web page. We've assigned Nathan to that. He gave me a recommendation of a new website. We have to redo our website a little bit because it's gotten out outdated, and I apologize for that. I know we got to do better on that, and we're working on that, getting that better. We're going to get it better where we can have a better online presence as far as merchandise is concerned. We'll be able to update those things. So we're working on that right now to get something better there, and to have a better display of our schedule. So right now, if you go to the Facebook stuff, June tries to put on there where we're going to be each week, but we're not out far as ahead of it as we need to be as we are on the website, where it tells a month or two down the road. So we're working on that to make that better.
And Cheech, what about you for social media? Any where they can find you at for your RC stuff and anything else like that?
Dan Cheech Agosh on Facebook, Dan Agosh88 on Instagram, Agosh RC and Facebook, and also on Instagram too. And take a look at our podcast at Crush This on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and on TikTok.
Yeah, we're on TikTok now. Also, check out the podcast on Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcast. You can also follow me on Instagram at the only Monster Truck Canucker. Go check out BradleyShawDesigns.com. Like I said in the intro, I do have finally a new computer, so I'll be able to do a lot more projects without having to wait like 5 minutes for Photoshop or Illustrator to open. It opens up right away now, which I am so glad. and Cheech, do we have a guest next week?
I think it's going to be Joe Foley from Team Scream, so the axe driver.
All right, we'll have Joe on next week. Tim, thank you for coming on. It was awesome to have you on. We'll definitely have to have you on again and talk some Pro MT and some other stories from that time in your guys' career.
Well, that'll be great. I appreciate you guys having us on, and I appreciate what you're doing with the sport here and trying to bring it to more folks. It's really good. You guys are doing a good job, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, and also thank you for jumping on board with us and sponsoring the decals that we have. So we thank you for that as well. That means a lot to us.
The least we can do.
All right, guys. Well, next week it is Joe Foley on the podcast with a member of Team Scream. And guys, like I always say on the podcast, before I say my outro, check up on your friends and family. Mental health is number one priority. If you're struggling, if you're going through stuff, please reach out to somebody. Your life is worth more than losing it. And here we go, guys. Keep the rubber side down and the shiny side up, everybody. Peace.